This video was shot on the Sony FX3. We'll let it roll and be back to chat about it.
When we make music, we don't do it in order to reach a certain point, such as the end of the composition. And so likewise, when we are dancing, we are not aiming to arrive at a particular place on the floor, as we would be if we were taking a journey. When we dance, the journey itself is the point. As you hear sounds coming up in your head, thoughts, you simply listen to them as part of the general noise going on, just as you would be listening to the sound of my voice, or just as you would be listening to cars going by or to birds chattering outside the window. So look at your own thoughts as just noises. And soon you will find that the so-called outside world and the so-called inside world come together. They are a happening. Your thoughts are a happening, just like the sounds going on outside. And everything is simply a happening, and all you're doing is watching it.
That was the first video that I shot with this camera, the Sony FX3. What you're seeing currently is also being shot on the FX3. We're currently on the 24 to 70 millimeter 2.8 lens. I actually didn't have this lens in time to shoot that video. We were primarily on the Sony 85 1.8, and there was one or two shots, those wide shots that were on a Rokinon 12 millimeter crop lens, and those were the shots that kind of looked terrible. So I'm super excited to actually get out and shoot with this, the 24 to 70, to get some of those wider shots on a proper lens. I won't go into a ton of the specifics about the camera or even about this shoot because I wanted to allow the footage to speak for itself. Shot in S-Cinetone and graded in Premiere Pro. Really came into creating this video as a bit of a test, and wanted to just like make something that was kind of creative. And speaking of bringing creativity to life, just a little bit of the process of how I go about making these types of, you know, artsy short films. I hate to call it a short film because there's no story really. It's just kind of like a collection of shots. It's kind of more like a moving portrait more than a short film. And I kind of go into these very much as thinking about it in that way of kind of capturing a portrait of a moment. And without going into it with a storyboard or a script pre-planned, I go into it and just capture the moments that are happening. And I kind of craft a story on the second half in the edit. I kind of have an initial idea of where I want to go when I'm filming. For this one, I wanted this like kind of exploratory moment of not really seeking the destination, but enjoying the journey around exploring this area. This location here in Atlanta has just like this like immersive canopy of greens, and the stream going through is very mystical. So just wanted to capture that. And then after that, kind of crafted that story around it. And Aaliyah, while we were filming, had this moment when her hand was reflecting over the water, and she kind of just said how a lot of the stuff that's been resonating with her kind of feels like this world of reflection, and that kind of became the core part of it and kind of built around that moment of her hand reflecting off, and then kind of leaning into that even more to think about like reflecting on, you know, the journey that we're on and enjoying the moment. So that was kind of the process of doing these things. I kind of just go out and shoot. We shoot for like an hour at sunset and then see what happens and bring it together. I think there's value in planning a little bit more, but if you don't really have an end goal and you just want to create something like this, like one of these moving portraits, I think it actually gives you a little bit more it gives me a little bit more freedom to kind of do what I want and see something. Like if we planned out shots beforehand and storyboarded it out and scripted it out, we might not have gotten that shot of the hand reflecting on the water because it only happened because it just kind of happened organically. So that's why I like to kind of lean into the unknown and just make whatever I kind of capture what I'm seeing and what we're both feeling in those moments. So that's all for this one. Again, this was really just a bit of a test using the Sony FX3 camera, and it's been pretty incredible for me so far. The autofocus is out of this world. The colors in the S-Cinetone look amazing, pretty much straight out of camera. I do go in and we'll leave my talking here just straight out of the camera. So the film was graded in Premiere. We'll leave the entire time that I've been talking, we'll leave that straight out of the camera on S-Cinetone so you can get a feel for what it actually looks like out of the camera. And again, we're on the Sony 24-70 2.8, opened up at 2.8, and just for context, ISO 320 right now. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back with more. I'll be doing a lot more of these tests with this camera, and I'll actually be using the 24-70. So stick around for more if you want to see more with this camera and exploring others. If you have any questions, drop them in a comment below, and see you on the next one.